Mr. David sat in the big leather chair in his living room, looking at his 3 children. His hands shook as he held the fake doctor's report. The paper felt heavy in his fingers, even though it was just lies written on it. "I have cancer," he said slowly. "The doctor says I have 3 months left." But here's what his family didn't know. David was not sick at all. He was as healthy as a young man. He had paid the doctor a lot of money to write a fake report. Why would a man worth billions lie about dying? Because David wanted to know the truth. After 60 years of life, he wanted to see who really loved him and who just wanted his money. His oldest son, Peter, dropped his phone. His face went white, like he had seen a ghost. "Dad, no, this can't be real," Peter said, his voice breaking. Sarah, Hawaii's only daughter, started crying right away. Big tears rolled down her face. "Daddy, there has to be something we can do. We can fly you to America, to the best hospitals in the world," she said between sobs. But it was Michael, Hawaii's youngest son, who surprised David the most. Michael just sat there, quiet. His face showed no feeling at all. "How long have you known?" Michael asked in a cold voice. "I found out yesterday." David lied again. The room became so quiet you could hear a pin drop. David watched his children carefully. He had built his business by reading people's faces, and right now, he was reading theirs like a book. Peter stood up and started walking around the room like a trapped animal. "We need to call the best doctors. Money is not a problem, Dad. We'll spend everything to save you," Peter said. But David saw something in Peter's eyes, something that made his heart hurt. Peter looked scared, yes, but not just scared about losing his father. He looked scared about losing the money. Sarah kept crying. She held David's hand tight. "Dad, I love you so much. You're the best father in the world. Remember when you used to take me to school every day? Remember how you taught me to ride a bike?" Sarah said. David's heart felt warm. Sarah seemed real. Her tears looked real too. But then he noticed something. Sarah was wearing a new gold watch, a very expensive one. Where did she get the money for that? David gave all his children monthly money, but not enough for such expensive things. Michael still sat quiet. He looked like he was thinking about something far away. "Michael, don't you have anything to say to your father?" Peter asked, anger in his voice. Michael looked up slowly. "Dad, if this is real, then we need to talk about the will. We need to talk about the business. We need to make sure everything is ready," Michael said. David felt like someone had poured cold water on him. His youngest son was already thinking about money and inheritance, not about spending the last 3 months together, not about love or family, just money. "Michael," Sarah shouted, "how can you think about money when Dad is dying?" "Someone has to think about these things," Michael said, not caring about Sarah's anger. "Dad built a big company. If we don't plan well, everything could fall apart when he dies." David wanted to scream. He wanted to tell them all that he was lying, that he was fine, that he just wanted to see who truly loved him. But he couldn't. Not yet. He needed to see more. "Let's not talk about the will now," David said softly. "Let's just spend time together. These might be my last days." Peter nodded quickly. "Yes, Dad. We'll spend every day with you. We'll make sure you're comfortable." "I'll stay here with you, Daddy," Sarah said. "I'll take care of you every single day." Michael just nodded and said nothing. That night, David couldn't sleep. He walked around his big house, thinking about what he had seen. His heart felt heavy like a stone in his chest. He had 3 children, but did any of them really love him? He remembered when they were small. Peter used to climb on his back and call him the strongest daddy in the world. Sarah used to draw pictures of them together and stick them on his office wall. Michael used to wait by the door every evening for David to come home from work. Where did those children go? When did love turn into greed? David was rich, very rich. He owned the biggest construction company in Nigeria. He had hotels, banks, and land everywhere. He was worth more than most small countries. But money had changed his family. He could see it now, clear as day. The next morning, David called his lawyer, Mr. James. "James, I need you to do something for me, but you must keep it secret," David said on the phone. "Of course, David. What do you need?" "I want you to create a fake will. Make it look like I'm giving everything to charity when I die. Don't give my children anything." "David, are you sure?" "That's a big decision. It's not real, James. I'm not actually dying, but I want to see how my children react when they think they won't get my money." James was quiet for a long time. "David, this is dangerous. Playing with people's feelings like this, it could destroy your family." "Maybe my family is already destroyed, James. Maybe I just need to see the truth." David hung up the phone and sat back in his chair. His plan was getting bigger and scarier, but he had to know the truth. Later that day, Sarah came to visit. She brought flowers and her father's favorite food. "Daddy, I made your favorite soup," she said with a big smile. David felt happy for the first time in days. Maybe Sarah really did love him. They sat together and ate. Sarah told him about her job, her friends, and her life. She seemed to care about spending time with him. But then David's phone rang. It was his bank manager. "Sir, your daughter Sarah tried to take a very large amount of money from your account today. She said it was for your medical treatment, but the amount was too big. We thought we should ask you first." David felt like his heart stopped beating. "How much?" he asked quietly. 5 million naira, sir?" David looked at Sarah. She was still smiling, still talking about happy things. But she had just tried to steal 5 million naira from his account. "Dad, who was that?" Sarah asked sweetly. "Just business," David said, his voice flat. After Sarah left, David felt sick for real. Not cancer sick, but heart sick. His own daughter was stealing from him while pretending to care. The next day, Peter came to see him. Peter looked very worried. "Dad, I've been thinking. We should sell some of your properties now, while you're still alive. It will be easier for tax purposes," Peter said. "Which properties?" David asked. "The hotel in Victoria Island, the shopping mall in Abuja, maybe the land in Lekki too." David knew those properties were worth hundreds of millions. Why did Peter want to sell them now? "Peter, those properties make money every month. Why sell them? Dad, when you're gone, the government will take a lot of money in taxes. If we sell now and put the money in different places, we can save millions." David saw the truth in Peter's eyes. Peter wasn't thinking about taxes. Peter was thinking about how to get money quickly, while David was still alive to sign the papers. "Let me think about it," David said. That evening, David called his private investigator, Mr. Tony. "Tony, I need you to watch my children. Follow them. Find out what they're doing with money. Find out who they're talking to." "Boss, are you sure? Family matters can be very painful." "I need to know the truth, Tony. All of it." 3 days later, Tony called with a report that made David's blood run cold. "Boss, you're not going to like what I found. Tell me everything. Your son Peter has been meeting with your business competitors. He's been sharing information about your company deals. It looks like he's been doing this for months." David felt dizzy. Peter was not just greedy. Peter was betraying the family business. "What about Sarah?" "Sarah has gambling problems, boss. Big ones. She owes money to dangerous people. That's why she's been taking money from your accounts." "And Michael?" "Michael is different, boss. He hasn't been taking money or sharing business secrets, but he's been talking to lawyers about challenging your will. He thinks you favor his siblings too much." David hung up the phone and sat in the dark for hours. His oldest son was a traitor. His daughter was a thief and a gambler. His youngest son was already fighting over money that wasn't even his yet. But the worst part was that they all thought he was dying. And none of them seemed to care about spending time with him. They only cared about money. David made a decision that night. He would continue his test, but make it harder. The next morning, David called all 3 children to his house. "I have something important to tell you," he said when they all sat down. Peter looked nervous. Sarah looked excited. Michael looked bored. "I've decided to change my will," David said slowly. All 3 children became very alert, like cats seeing a mouse. "I'm giving everything to charity when I die. The children's hospital, the school for poor children, and the church will get all my money." The silence that followed was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Peter's face went red with anger. "Dad, you can't do this. We're your family. We deserve something." Sarah started crying, but these tears looked different from her tears before. "Daddy, this isn't fair. I've been taking care of you. I've been here every day." Michael just stared at David with cold eyes. "You're making a mistake, old man," Michael said quietly. "What did you call me?" David asked. "You heard me. You're being foolish. We are your blood. Family should come first." David saw who his children really were now. When they thought they would inherit money, they were sweet and caring. When they thought they would get nothing, they became angry and mean. "This is my final decision," David said. "James will read the new will to you tomorrow." That night, David couldn't sleep again. But this time, it wasn't because of sadness. It was because he was scared. He had seen the anger in his children's eyes. He had seen how quickly love could turn into hate when money was involved. David began to wonder if his test had gone too far. Maybe James was right. Maybe this game was too dangerous, but it was too late to stop now. Tomorrow, his children would hear the fake will. Tomorrow, David would see what they would do when they thought they had lost everything. Little did David know that his children were already planning something that would change everything. That same night, Peter, Sarah, and Michael met at Peter's house. "We can't let him do this," Peter said, walking back and forth like a caged animal. "But what can we do? It's his money," Sarah said, still crying. "There has to be a way," Michael said quietly. "Rich old men change their minds about wills all the time." "What are you saying, Michael?" Peter asked. Michael looked at his older siblings with dark eyes. "I'm saying that Dad is sick, very sick. Sick people sometimes make bad decisions. Sometimes they need help making the right choices." Sarah stopped crying. "Michael, you're scaring me." "Good," Michael said. "Maybe it's time we all got a little scared. Because if we don't do something, we'll lose everything our father worked for, everything that should belong to us." Peter sat down slowly. "What do you have in mind?" Michael smiled, but it wasn't a nice smile. "Dad always taught us that in business, you have to take what you want. Nobody gives you anything for free."
"Michael, he's our father,"
Sarah whispered. "And we're his children. We deserve what's ours." The three siblings looked at each other in the dim light of Peter's living room. Something had changed between them, something dark and dangerous. "Tell us your plan, Michael," Peter said. As Michael began to speak, none of them knew that their father was not really dying. None of them knew that everything was a test. And none of them knew that their father's private investigator was sitting in a car outside, recording every word they said. The test was about to become very real and very dangerous. Tomorrow would change the family forever. The next morning, David woke up to find his house surrounded by police cars. Red and blue lights flashed through his bedroom window like a bad dream. His heart started beating very fast. What was happening? David got dressed quickly and ran downstairs. His three children were already there, talking to police officers. They all looked very upset. "Dad!" Sarah ran to him and hugged him tight. "Thank God you're okay." "What's going on?" David asked, confused. A police officer walked up to him. The man was tall and serious looking. "Sir, I am Inspector Johnson. We received a tip that someone was planning to hurt you. We have recordings of people talking about harming you for your money." David felt like ice water was running through his body. "Recordings?" Inspector Johnson nodded and pulled out a small device. "Your private investigator, Mr. Tony, brought these to us this morning. Listen." The device started playing voices. David recognized them immediately. It was his children, talking in Peter's house last night. Michael's voice came out of the speaker. "Dad is sick, very sick. Sick people sometimes make bad decisions. Sometimes they need help making the right choices." Then Peter's voice, "What do you have in mind?" Then Michael again. "Dad always taught us that in business, you have to take what you want. Nobody gives you anything for free." David's legs felt weak. He had to sit down. The recording continued. Michael's voice was clear and cold. "Here's what we're going to do. Dad takes medicine every day for his blood pressure, right? What if we changed his medicine? What if we gave him something else?" Sarah's voice shaky. "Michael, you're talking about killing him. I'm talking about helping a sick old man die peacefully. Dad is already dying from cancer. We would just be helping him go faster. And when he dies, The will won't matter anymore. Children always inherit from their parents, unless there's a very good reason why they shouldn't. Peter's voice. The police would investigate. Michael, what would they find? A sick old man who died from cancer, just like the doctor said he would. No one would question anything. The recording stopped. The room was completely silent. David looked at his 3 children. Sarah was crying again, but these looked like real tears. Peter's face was white as paper. Michael was staring at the floor. Is this real? David asked Inspector Johnson. Very real, sir. We arrested Mr. Michael early this morning. He was at the pharmacy trying to buy dangerous drugs. He told the pharmacist it was for his dying father's pain. David felt like his world was falling apart. His youngest son, the child he had loved and raised, had planned to kill him. Dad, I swear I didn't know Michael was serious, Peter said quickly.
I thought he was just angry and talking.
I never thought he would, really. You were there, Peter, Inspector Johnson said. The recording shows you agreed to help.
I didn't agree to anything. I just listened.
David looked at Sarah.
What about you?
Sarah was crying so hard she could barely speak. Daddy, I said no.
On the recording, you can hear me say no. I told Michael it was wrong.
I told him you were our father. Inspector Johnson nodded. That's true, sir. Miss Sarah seems to have refused to participate in the plan. But David's heart was still breaking. 2 of his 3 children had been willing to kill him for money. Even if Sarah said no, she had been there. She had heard the plan and not told anyone until it was almost too late.
Where is Michael now? David asked. In jail, sir. He will be charged with planning to commit murder.
David sat down heavily in his chair. His test had worked too well. He had wanted to know who loved him and who loved money more. Now he knew the answer, but the price was almost his life. Inspector Johnson, I need to tell you something, David said slowly. What is it, sir? David took a deep breath. I'm not dying. Everyone in the room stared at him.
What?
Peter said. I'm not sick. I don't have cancer. It was all a lie. Inspector Johnson frowned.
Sir, are you saying you're not ill?
That's exactly what I'm saying. I paid a doctor to write a fake report. I wanted to test my children. I wanted to see who really loved me. The room exploded with noise. Dad! Sarah screamed. You're not dying? You lied to us? Peter shouted. Inspector Johnson held up his hand for quiet.
Mr. David, are you telling me this whole thing was fake?
The sickness was fake. But my son's plan to kill me was real. Very real. David looked at Peter and Sarah. I'm not dying, but I learned something worse than death. I learned that my own children would kill me for money. Sarah fell to her knees. Daddy, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for everything. For taking money from your account, for lying to you, for not stopping Michael sooner. Peter was quiet for a long time. Then he looked up at his father. Dad, I know what I did was wrong. I know I betrayed you and the business. I know I was greedy and selfish. But I never wanted you dead. Never.
But you didn't stop Michael either,
David said sadly. You're right. I didn't. And I'll have to live with that forever. Inspector Johnson cleared his throat. Mr. David, since you're not actually sick, we need to understand what crimes were really committed here. Your son Michael still planned to harm you, even if the reason was based on false information. That's still attempted murder. What will happen to him? David asked. He'll go to court, probably prison for many years. David felt old and tired. His test had given him answers, but not the ones he wanted. Can I see him? Can I talk to Michael? Yes, sir, but he'll be in jail. 2 days later, David sat across from his youngest son in the prison visiting room. Michael looked smaller in his orange prison clothes. His eyes were red like he had been crying. Dad, Michael said quietly, I heard you're not really sick. No, I'm not sick. Why did you lie to us? David looked at his son, this young man he had raised, loved, and taught everything he knew about business and life. Because I wanted to know if you loved me, or just my money. Michael was quiet for a long time. I guess you got your answer, he said finally. Michael, I need to understand. How did it get to this point? When did you start thinking about money more than family? Michael looked up at the ceiling. Dad,
Do you know what it's like growing up as your son? Tell me. Everyone expects you to be perfect. Everyone compares you to the great David, the billionaire, the successful businessman. I could never be good enough. Nothing I did mattered unless it made money. David felt a pain in his chest. That's not true, Michael. Isn't it? When did you ever care about my dreams? My art? My writing? All you cared about was business and money. So I thought that's all you valued. I thought that's all I was worth to you. Tears ran down David's face. Michael, I love you. I've always loved you. But you love your money more. Why else would you test us with it? Why else would you pretend to die just to see how we acted around your wealth? David realized Michael was right. Even his test had been about money. Even when he was trying to find love, he had used money as the test. I made mistakes, son. Big mistakes. But that doesn't excuse what you tried to do. I know, Dad. I know what I did was evil. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect anyone to forgive me. Michael, I do forgive you, but I can't save you from the consequences. Michael nodded. I understand. David stood up to leave, then turned back. Michael, when you get out of prison, if you want to start over, if you want to build a real relationship, I'll be here. For the first time since David had seen him in prison, Michael smiled. Thank you, Dad. 6 months later, David's life looked very different. Michael was in prison for attempted murder. He would serve 8 years. Peter had left Nigeria. He moved to Canada and started his own small business. He sent David letters sometimes, trying to rebuild their relationship slowly. Sarah had gone to treatment for her gambling addiction. She was clean now and working as a teacher. She visited David every week, and slowly, they were becoming close again. David had sold most of his businesses. He kept just enough money to live comfortably and gave the rest to charity, for real this time, not as a test. He started volunteering at the Children's Hospital. He spent his days reading stories to sick kids and helping their families. One evening, David sat in his garden, reading a letter from Peter. Dad, the letter said, I've been thinking about what happened. You were wrong to lie to us about being sick. But we were more wrong to care more about money than about losing you. I'm working hard to become a better person. I hope someday you can be proud of me again. David smiled and folded the letter carefully. Sarah walked into the garden carrying 2 cups of tea. Daddy, are you okay? She asked, sitting beside him. I'm thinking about family, David said. About love and money and the mistakes we all make. Do you regret the test? Sarah asked. David thought for a long time. I regret lying. I regret putting money between us. But I don't regret learning the truth. What truth? That real love isn't something you can test. Real love is something you build, day by day, choice by choice. I spent so many years building wealth that I forgot to build relationships. Sarah took her father's hand. We can build them now, Daddy. David smiled at his daughter. Yes, we can. That night, David wrote in his diary, I pretended to die to test my family's love. I almost died for real because of their greed. But maybe that was exactly what we all needed. Sometimes you have to lose everything to find what really matters. My son Michael is in prison, learning that actions have consequences. My son Peter is in Canada, learning to be independent. My daughter Sarah is here with me, learning that love is more valuable than money. And I am learning that being rich in money means nothing if you are poor in love. The test is over. The real work of being a family begins now. 2 years later, David received a letter from prison. It was from Michael. Dad, the letter said, I've been thinking about what you said, about starting over when I get out. I want you to know that I'm not the same person who tried to hurt you. Prison is hard, but it's teaching me who I really am when I don't have money or power or family name to hide behind. I'm learning to paint again. Remember when I was little and I used to draw pictures for you? You always hung them on your office wall. I want to paint again when I get out, not to make money, just because it makes me happy. I know I have 6 more years here. But when I get out, I hope we can sit together and talk about art, not business. I hope we can talk about dreams, not money. I love you, Dad. I always did. I just lost my way. Your son, Michael. David cried when he read the letter, but they were happy tears. He hung the letter on his office wall, right where Michael's childhood drawings used to be. The test had torn his family apart, but maybe, slowly, love was putting them back together. This time, love that was real, love that was not about money, love that could survive any test. David learned that the best inheritance you can leave your children is not money. It's the knowledge that they are loved just for who they are. And that lesson, David finally understood, was worth more than all the billions in the world. Did you learn anything from this story? Let me know in the comments section. Tell me everything you learned from this story. Please leave your answers and join the conversation below in the comments section. If you enjoyed watching and listening to this story, then click on that like button and subscribe to this channel now so that you can see more of my interesting stories and folktales. Thank you so much for watching this video to this very end. Click on any of the video links above to watch more of my interesting stories on this channel.